And now up, we have David Fields, Managing Director for Wormtown Brewery. What's
How are
up,
you, my
David?
friend?
Oh, thank you.
I feel bad only bringing you water, but that's all I had to give me.
I gave you a beer earlier.
You did. I drank it.
I know. You took my hidden beer, and you bring me a water. That's all right. Do I have to hide it now that we're not brought to you by Fiji?
That's okay.
So what's up? What's new with Wormtown?
Oh, man. You know, it's I'm sure like every other craft brewery, it seems like every day something else is new. But we did this past year, we completed what we hope is, knock on wood, the last of our facility expansions. We added 8,000 square feet for fermentation, and that came on top of the end of the year addition of another 8,000 square feet of packaging hall. So been a big year for us construction-wise. We're just looking forward to focusing on the beer for a little bit this year.
What's that going to put you at?
So from capacity on hand right now, we have 45,000 barrels that we could make this year. We'll finish 18 at about 30,000 barrels produced, so it gives us some good run room for the first time.
That's awesome. You guys are based in Worcester, Massachusetts. You've been digging pretty deep in Massachusetts, but you've recently, in the last year, opened up Rhode Island a little bit with Draft,
Yep.
New Hampshire. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to open those new markets in New England and how that's gone.
Sure. So we took 7 years to fill out all of Massachusetts from a distribution footprint standpoint, and about the same time in 17 that we completed the distribution footprint for Mass, we opened up Rhode Island. And as you mentioned, we did it very focused on one brand, Draft only. We moved to 3 brands and some package within about 6 months. And we really selected Rhode Island because it wasn't much bigger than most of the markets in Massachusetts we'd opened. It's not much bigger than Worcester County. It's not much bigger than Springfield, and it's certainly smaller than Boston. So that was really just for us like opening another city and another distribution relationship. Gone very, very, very well for us. They will, in the first 12 months, so 2018 is their first calendar year, and they'll outsell any other market that we rolled out, which has been awesome. And then also for us, pretty exciting, we opened up New Hampshire in May 1st. So we rolled New Hampshire, Draft only again. We're always pretty focused on Draft, but different than Rhode Island. When we talked to the New Hampshire distributors, they had a little different idea where they wanted to bring more than one brand to the marketplace. They wanted a hoppy option, a not hoppy option, and also our seasonals. So we went there with three brands, Draft only, and at about the 4-month mark, we brought package into the market as well.
I wonder if you hear that much from wholesalers in new markets like that, where they're like, no, give me 3 options and some package.
Well, you know, I think most would look at 1 or 2 brands. It's when we start overthinking and overwhelming them with SKU Mageddon, and we bring them 10, 12, 13 SKUs, that they start getting pretty pushbackish.
I get sweaty just thinking about it.
I do too.
So in New England, you've got those markets. You're not done, though.
No, so we internally, with the capacity I talked about earlier this year, this conversation, and earlier this year, we decided that Connecticut will be our next market. So we've earmarked sometime the end of the first quarter, start of the second quarter to roll out the Connecticut marketplace. Makes sense. It's really where we border. Our home territory of Massachusetts is really strongly connected to that northern Connecticut portion.
So is that going to be just Draft, or are you going to do package there as well?
We always do Draft well, and we like being hyper-focused, so we will roll just Draft, but I think much like you saw with the other states, we can roll out package a little bit quicker, so probably about a 4-month time period.
For a brand that is so sort of Massachusetts-y, how does that play, you know, when you take it outside?
Yeah, so we weren't sure, and Rhode Island was an interesting test for us, and we really didn't know what to expect. We went in very humble, very, very, very low expectations, and as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Rhode Island's going to be our fastest 12-month market, so we do feel as though we can travel. And at the end of the day, who doesn't want to drink a beer with a smiley face on it? So we know that Be Hoppy as a brand itself really transitions geographically. Whether or not Wormtown as a brewery resonates as well, most people in Worcester still ask us where the name comes from, and it's really just a cool, fun nickname we found historically tied into the music scene. So we're not sure Wormtown will play as well, but Be Hoppy certainly will, and we got a couple other tricks up our sleeves too.
I want to talk to you about one of those other tricks,
Sure.
Which is Mass Hole Lager.
Absolutely.
And how that'll play.
Well, I'm thinking that especially in Connecticut, where half the state is Yankees fans that they'll have a lot of fun calling us massholes. But at the end of the day, Ben, my partner Ben, who's our brewmaster, has been really passionate about always using Massachusetts ingredients in our beers. We've had a variation of masshole since day one.
And that's WHOLE.
WHOLE because it's 100% of the ingredients are grown and sourced in Massachusetts. So all of our malts come from Massachusetts. All of our hops come from Massachusetts. And Ben's been particularly passionate about this product. And when he sat down and presented to us that he wanted to bring it to market year-round, as soon as he mentioned a lager and 12-ounce cans, 6-pack, he had everybody in the room at hello because we've been dying to drink 12-ounce cans of a light, easy, approachable beer for quite a while.
So that is going to hit in, what, January, February?
So we have it in our tap room now. It's been one of our best sellers for the last 6 weeks. We will have it in our local marketplace distribution January. That's the second batch to come out. And then we'll hit full market sometime around end of February, 5-week process to lager those beers. Just got off a conference call a little while ago, so we look good and set to go. Wholesalers are loving it. I did think it was fun to talk to our out-of-state partners because we propositioned it to them very clearly. If you don't want to touch this brand, don't worry about it. And those were the guys that were most excited about it. They love calling us mass holes. We like being called mass holes, so badge of honor.
And speaking of don't worry, that's also on deck for you.
It is. So we look deep into our portfolio, and I think somewhat of a unique position for us when you look at our book of business. We're still 75% draft, 20 to 25%, 25 to 30% package. So we sell really, really, really well where we have Bihapi placed. And as we started looking at the landscape and seeing the success of some of the other Massachusetts breweries like Night Shift and Lord Hobo, they're very IPA heavy in their entire lineup. And we realized that our proposition says to a consumer, we know you love Bihapi, thank you very much, and you can play with some of our Underground Series double IPAs and triple IPAs 4 times a year, but other than that, we send you straight to our Rocket Pale Ale, which we're very proud of, or seasonal, and we said, we're missing something. And we were having beers at an employee event we hosted in the fall, just hanging around talking, and one of the guys said, well, why don't we have a beer called Don't Worry? And about 15 other people said, we've been talking about that for years. And the rest of us looked around and said, why don't we have that? So we have a batch in the tanks right now. It's about 7 days in. We're pretty excited about it. It'll have a nice tropical profile. It'll be probably around high 5s to low 6 ABV.
So I got to ask, have you gotten or are you worried about receiving any cease and desist letters from Bobby McFerrin?
Well, the good news is Bihapi comes, or the idea of have a nice day, not Bihapi, but have a nice day, comes from Worcester. The smiley face comes from Worcester, so we know that we can work off of that. Never been trademarked, and we'll find out. We have trademarks on Bihapi in this space, so we're okay.
And nobody's made a beer named Don't Worry?
Imagine that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dave, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. I'll see you back in there here shortly.
Cheers, and I'll find a beer for you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Thanks.
I appreciate it.